place, there needs to be a better way to do that so firms can actually overcome these challenges and save a lot of that time.
I completely agree, and I think this taps to the next point of revenue leakage. So you spoke about errors. So revenue leakage by design is something that is generated because we're humans. So I'll give you an example for everybody. Revenue leakage is money that the business is being owed to. It's like you already earned it, and yet somehow it ends up leaking out of your pockets. And I'll explain how. So it could be you're meeting a client, and while you're onboarding them, you're giving them a 10% discount. But you say, okay, next year it's going to, either the price is going to increase, or it's going to be my price. And then next year renewal time comes, you don't go back to that agreement. It was in paper or in, somewhere in the cloud. And if you have an admin, she doesn't go back. Normally, you just duplicate December. And then that jump in 10% just went away. That's revenue leakage. Someone, you start talking or working with a client, and then, 3 weeks later, they sort of discover that, okay, oh, we have this and this and this. So you want to add that. You write a post-it note and you say, okay, when it's time, I'm going to bill them. And sometimes you forget to put it in the invoice. 3 months later, and again, no one that's listening here, other people. So other people, 3 months later, they figure it out. So, oh, I forgot to bill them on this. And then they say, oh, I'm an idiot. I'll waive it, because you don't want the friction. And these are all, parts of revenue leakage. And the sad thing is that most of them go unnoticed. So it's not the things that we know and just say, okay, we skip it, is the things that we just miss. And what we do religiously with, the accountants that we're working with is have them dive into the numbers and see. And normally it's staggering, not in a good way. Like they discover how much money was just left. And this figure, let's say if your profit margin, each with his own profit margin, but let's say it's like 25%. So this is actually biting off directly from the profit. So fixing this is an immediate injection of just a revenue lift or profit actually to the bottom line. And the last one is just something that makes sense. This is like a total cost, and this is very conservative around how much time and money is being wasted on these manual processes.
Wow, that's crazy. And it's really important to like really hit on that. Like if you can fix that revenue leakage, it's straight profit, which is important because that gives them more money to reinvest back in their business to stay alive for the most part too, as well, or even take some more money at the home at the end of the day for all that hard work. It really has such a big impact.
I agree. And I think the last point, next to the frustrated person here on our right, if you look at the last point, I think this is, something that's many times it's being, people don't really put a lot of emphasis on that. But having a very solid business foundation versus a weak business foundation makes all the difference in your day-to-day feeling, and in the and whether or not your business can grow or just stay close to the ground. I'll explain. Like if you don't know how much money you're going to have at the end of the month, will you grow tall or stay close to the ground? Will you advertise more? Will you hire more? Or, just keep it safe because you don't know, what's, how the end of the month's going to be. And naturally, when that's the case and we don't have a solid prediction of, how the work's going or how, the payments are coming, because, it depends on so many factors when our clients is paying, when we're getting to it, like what we forget. And this is the realization that most small businesses, not only in our industry, but across the board, are sort of surviving instead of thriving, and having the right processes will make a meaningful difference, not in the, okay, I'm automating 1, 2, 3, but with creating a very, very solid foundation that your business can just be completely a different business, just because you know that you have this bandwidth of, okay, this money thing is done. I can move forward and I can actually put in the time to focus. Normally we all joke about it. Okay, you have time for your kids and go to the beach. A lot of, our client says, I don't want to see my kids more than I do. So I say, okay, you can spend it or invest it in doing your favorite Netflix binge, but regardless, you have time and focus where you decide it matters. So
Yeah, that business foundation is very important, right? Not only are you saving time, but it really comes to like the visibility and confidence and knowing when you're going to get paid, right? Because it's impossible to manage cash flow if all your payments are late, you don't know when they're coming in. But if you can put the right processes in place to know, hey, I'm going to get paid on this date and I'm 95% confident that that's going to come in and it's not going to be late, you can better plan your expenses and scale your business because you need money to scale. And I've lived on both sides of this in two businesses I've owned. One where we didn't have that visibility, and it was so hard to grow the business because I was too afraid to make investments in the business because I didn't know if I would have the money. I might run cash flow. I might run out of cash. But now, in financial sense, it's more we have that predictability, we have that visibility, we have that confidence with the processes we created, and it makes it so much easier to build a business, but also sleep better at night. Because I know we can afford everything at the end of the day because we put those processes in place, which I know Anchor does a really great job of, and we're going to show here.
so
Um,
I agree with you again, and I'll share my experience. This was like more than the actual knowledge and the technical part of, okay, I know the money, just the bandwidth it consumes knowing that people owe you money. And billing, normally we treat it okay, it's something that you do at the end of the month. That happens 30 like 365, because there's always like something that you're dragging, and it's always occupies your mind. And the fact that if this is something that you can remedy and get away with, it's amazing how much space opens up in a business and your own, like mental bandwidth to just get it away with. And I had my own personal good experience with having, oh, you're on a ski vacation, sure, I'll send the invoice again, kind of conversations where you, after the third conversation, you start hating your own clients. So we don't want that for you. And I think what is very exciting in our space is that there's a lot of movement from other disciplines. So like exactly like financial sense, you're not experiencing any of that because you're operating on a SaaS concept where everything is being, it's sort of automated from a different point. So e-commerce doesn't have these problems. You pay, and before like,
mhm.
you pay before you send it. Point of sale, you don't go to a restaurant and say, okay, great, send me that invoice, I'll pay you in 30 days for that steak. Doesn't happen. But in the service, when we're rendering our service, somehow it makes sense that we'll do the work and then chase the money. And what we're trying to accomplish is actually giving those advantages of SaaS and e-commerce and all that automation for accountants, because there's no reason why we shouldn't.
Agreed. I completely agree. Okay, so let's go to the next slide.
All right, so basically, this is what we try to do. I think in today's session is, and Shahram mapped it very well, is to show what's the main aspects of things that are going wrong, and then how we can benefit from fixing them, and what will it trigger. So when I'm talking about proposals, there's a lot of things that I can talk about, but I want to start and just ask, what is the objective of a proposal? And for me, the way I consider it is, it needs to be super easy, something that I can like talk to a client on the phone while I'm talking to them, shoot them up that proposal, because hitting that iron while it's hot is very, very meaningful. And normally, if you look at a lot of surveys and stats, getting someone's business, normally just making sure that you're fastest, not necessarily even the best, but you're just fast to deliver on these things. So that's number one. The other thing, it needs to convert. It needs to, once the client sees it, it needs to have the highest conversion possible. And the third is optimizing for profit, meaning if it can present more services or make sure that the yield per client is higher, that's a good proposal. So when I look into what majority of people are using, what methodologies, whether it be DocuSign or paper, not a lot of people are using paper anymore, or Word documents, Excel, sometimes emails. But all of these, even DocuSign, which is an amazing company that took humanity from paper into digital, it's still a paper concept. So back then we used to, print it and have it in our office. Now we have it in our cloud, but it's not it's not a tool. It's a format that it points into a specific point in time. And then when things are changing, it doesn't support our business. So, things to ask around your process and how, what are you doing is the proposal or the tool or the method that they're using, is it's fast, if it's easy for you, if it's easy for your clients to use. Do you see them, sign it within the first 24 hours? Or sooner? And are you able to put in and use it as a sales tool that will drive, the margins up, the amount of services per client or the relevant services? And if we're really, really being hopeful, is this something that is setting you up to succeed? Meaning it sets up the proper expectations from the client, it set up the proper automation moving forward, so that once you're done with that stage, it actually serves the rest of it, or it becomes this handicap that you need to, always work with. So these are my points for what's wrong with proposals, and the impact on having the right one versus the wrong one is massive. And I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just so much time spent, like, and it's not just the time you're saving or you're losing doing it like with documents and all these different tools, but it's also, like you said, the expectations. I think one of the most important things you can do when you get a new client, from the conversations we've had with firm owners, is setting expectations right in the beginning, understanding when they can contact you, what is in the scope of work, not just what you're doing for them, but also more importantly, what you're not doing for them, right? Um, and having a good proposal system or process for proposals can help you do that. And being able to replicate that from client to client, but also tweak and customize it where it may be a little bit different, and then have all those proposals saved so you can always go back and reference it, and the client can as well. And you can't do that when you're just sending it via a Word document or all these other tools, and everything's in all these other places. So it's very, very important.
I agree. So
Sorry.
getting paid. So wow. So when I set this slide, so what's wrong with getting paid? And like naturally I had so much, it's like where to begin. But this is an image that caught me, I think like 6 years ago. Because it illustrated, at least for me personally, what I felt with my clients. Oh, hey, you're on a ski vacation kind of thing. This is how it made me feel, because it's one way to, have your own control, your own things, but this is, in a sense, your client, and we'll go into, the hand here represents many things, not only the client, but this is where it met me personally, that they're actually controlling the cash flow, they're actually controlling so many things in your business, and you need to balance yourself around this thing. And if people are asking me, okay, what's the biggest issue with small businesses, this is what I would I think indicate the most, because it represents so many things. And in the report by Intuit, when they purchased MailChimp, they wanted to show why they bought it. But before we go into that, so I'll just finish that, the story about Intuit. They surveyed 50,000 small businesses and saw that the biggest pain is getting new clients, and the second was getting paid, which for me was just mind-boggling that this is such a big issue. But it is. So this hand could be your clients, it could be your processes, it could be the attention span that you don't have. So a lot of people are, okay, they're all about giving the best service possible, but they're paying themselves last, so that they're not getting to even bill their clients on time. So they're billing them late. Naturally, they're being paid late. Their lack of time. they have the wrong solutions, the wrong tech stack. And the norm, the actual norm of AR and AP, it just is bad. It's based on this really legacy concept where things really had to take a long time. But today with technology, they just don't. And, limiting beliefs. Many times people look at it and say, okay, yeah, but this is, I've done this for years. This is how it works. Everybody know me personally. This is how I do things. And they hinder themselves from actually looking at reality and say, okay, I need to, make a move on this. I need to improve this. And as you said, we're humans, and I think we could do so much better things with our attention and our capabilities than this process where we're not as good as something that's automated, and we don't enjoy it, which is worse than anything.
Okay. So we talked about the proposal. We talked about why the current proposal process is broken, the payment process is broken. Let's talk about the actual onboarding and managing the work. So let's first talk about client onboarding. Every time you get a new client, right? The typical process for a lot of firms or admins is they have to take that new client. They have to remember now to go add that new client once it is signed or they've agreed to move forward to all their different systems and all that information to all that different systems. That's really time consuming, right? And a lot of mistakes can be made. You can forget to set up a client in this system or that system. Something can be missed. But even worse, you also have to get all that information from your clients to put it in the system. So I have a question actually for everyone here. Drop it in the chat. What are you using to collect all this information from your clients? Like, how are you going out once a client is signed up and said, I want to move forward, to get that initial intake of information to really add it, to update everything and get them to onboarded? What does that process look like for you guys? Oh, well, so some people are using Financial Sense. Okay. Anyone not using Financial Sense? Are you using like a form? Are you just following up via email? Questionnaires. Okay. So even if you like, let's say you create like a template email, let's say you create a questionnaire, which is what a lot of people do, which is the old way of doing it. You have to, once you get that information, then you have to go update on the system. But even worse, you have to remember to chase down the client for that information. Just like chasing down clients for payments is painful, it's also chasing down clients for information to get them onboarded and to get the information you need is also just as painful. You're sending emails, you're following up with them. Maybe you forget. Next thing you know, it's been a month and you haven't even got them onboarded yet or started the work. That's not a good client experience. So the current client onboarding process, it's not just a bad experience for your client potentially, but it's also a bad experience for your firm, for your team, because your team can't get the work done. They can't move forward till they get the information. It stresses them out, but then the client is forgetting and then they don't even realize it. And they're like, hey, why haven't you started my work yet? Well, then you're going back, well, you haven't sent me this information, and it just starts everything on a bad foot, right? So that's the client onboarding process, right? Let's now talk about delivering the work and meeting the expectations. If you get the new client, you get them onboarded, now you have to meet their expectations. Typically in a proposal, you outline what you're going to do for that client. What are they going to get out of this arrangement? What do they expect? It's very important you meet those expectations because if you don't meet those expectations, they're probably not going to be a client at some point. They're going to go somewhere else. And the old way of kind of making sure you meet those expectations is in managing the work to do that is maybe using spreadsheets, right? Or maybe keeping the processes in your head or storing all this information you need in all these different systems. That sets you up for failure. It may work when you have a few clients, but as you start to grow, it's really hard to stay on top of who's working on what. Did we get the work done for this client? Because if you miss that deadline, whether it's in the first few months or even later down the road, there's going to be an uncomfortable conversation with your client. They're going to call you and ask why, and you're going to have to explain that. But also, let's say remembering from the proposal what you said you were going to do for this client. Every client can be a little bit different. Remembering how to actually do the work to deliver the quality of work that they expected can be tough. And it only gets harder when you add team members. How do they know how to do the work that meets your standards, right? When you just keep all that in your head or it's on a document somewhere, it's easy for that to get lost, right? It's easy for that to be overlooked, or maybe someone makes a copy of that document and they update it, and then you update the master file, but it doesn't update the copy they made. So there's all these silos that can be created. And lastly is like the information they need, right? It's not just knowing what to do when and how to do it, but they need all the information to do it, the login information to the apps to get into. They need documents, they need like team context, notes, like all this is stored in all these different places. It's on your desk, it's on your computer, it's in your notes on your phone, right? All this stuff is in different places. No one can access the information they can find. And if you can't, if your team or you can't see when you need to get work done, you don't know exactly how to do the work and meet what you promised the client, and you can't find the information to do it, you're not going to be able to meet those expectations at some point. You're going to lose clients. And that's going to prevent you from having a great time running your firm, but also scaling your firm. So this is what we've seen when we talk to firms. Like, these are the challenges people face with the onboarding. These are the challenges people face after the onboarding as well, with actually managing the work and meeting those expectations so you can keep them as a client and continue to get paid. Okay, so let's go to the next.
Wait, go back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was on mute. While you were describing this, like I had so many, you know, past memories from conversations we had with clients over the years, and one like really stuck out. We make it the purpose to visit with clients and ask them questions and then literally record what they're saying so that we'll learn the words that they're using, so we'll know how to communicate in their own language. Because we discovered that a lot of times I'll say yellow, they'll say yellow, but we mean two different things. So at a very early stage, we went to a client in New York, and I'm sitting there and we're recording, and I'm asking her, "What's the most difficult part? What's most painful in your business?" And I was expecting, a lot of things, the money thing, and then she said the research, and I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, the research. That's the most difficult part of my job." I'm like, "Yeah, you're an accountant. What are you talking about? What's research?" So he said, every month I need to visit with all my team members and research, where they put things, what was built, what was not built, where are we standing with each clients. And then I would put everything in what she called the Rainbow Monster Excel, which was this gigantic Excel with a lot of colors per, employee. And they're a sizable firm. They have roughly around 600 bookkeeping clients, and I think roughly around another 1,000 that are tax. And so they're a good company. They started not accepting new clients because they couldn't handle that in terms of just the sheer volume of mayhem that they had. And like the research, it takes me weeks, and then she would invoice them like 3 4 weeks later, not because clients were actually asking, "Okay, can you invoice me? I want to pay," because it makes me disorganized. And I don't know if that's an extreme example, but I think that while you are describing this, like everything is siloed in a different place, and then she needed to actually go and research that, and that was like a tremendous pain. And I think maybe she's a very, very good. We should make an introduction to Financial Sense with her.
I mean, it's such a common problem. It works. It can work when it's just you, but the bigger you get, the more clients you have, the more team members, it just amplifies and it magnitudes, and it becomes a point to where it's just like you just feel like overwhelmed, right? And it's important to kind of create that single source of truth, which we'll talk about. Um, so let's go. I think we might be running a little behind. So, um, why you need automation. So I'll let you start off here for the proposals and agreements, Omri.
So, bottom line, why we should automate stuff. I'll share a little bit about what we were seeing. So you're able to close clients faster with 90% less work, because unlike redoing the same work with a document and tweaking it, and like, you know, and then remembering what version it was, and you duplicate a client that you say, okay, it's almost like this, and then you have errors, or you send a proposal with someone else's name, not you guys, never, but other people, again. This, when it's automated and it's streamlined and you have a system that does it, you can, like, with a few clicks, just send an invoice, and you have all the flexibility to tweak the packages or tweak the pricing and make it as needed for that client. That's one. The second is just dramatically increasing the efficiency and profitability, because you don't like, and when I'm looking at the profitability of the process, it takes into consideration your time or your admin's time, and normally we stop there because we don't want to push it. But if we're pushing, actually looking into a business and looking at deeply, that time, it's not only the cost, that it's not, you know, it's non-billable hours that we need to, you know, actually pay for, but it's the alternative of what that employee could have done for the business and generate, you know, like, do something that's revenue generating for the business, and these things accumulate. Other than that, you can have employees that up until now, what we've seen, a lot of businesses had a tendency to say, okay, I need to set the proposal for that client because I'm the owner and I know how to do it and I need to present it my way. And that's just, you know, you're becoming this bottleneck for your own business. And what we see is, once you have a system in place that you've created, you've set it up, everybody else can seamlessly use it, and you know, it will keep you safe according to the standard that you want. And again, the third is automating getting paid through the proposal, meaning if a proposal has a component that already pre-collect the payment information, that sets you up for, you know, sort of an automated flow of getting paid. And that begins in the proposal stage, because if you don't do it at the proposal stage, you end up chasing the money. So for us, a proposal is something that you're able to gather the payment information, not build a client, but just have it for future use. And then have a full control and ability and transparency to change and amend things, because, you know, we all saw the case. Okay, someone's coming. Okay, I have this small QuickBooks cleanup. And then you lift the hood, you see, oh, horrible. This is like 3 times the amount of work that they scrub. So you need to have the ability to adjust this really quickly, and still not have this massive email communication, something that's very straightforward. You press a few buttons, both parties understand it, and you can move forward. So this, I feel, is, you know, like, the benefits of automating and creating something that doesn't have silos inside. Okay, so on the other side of getting paid with automation, I think, like, for me, this is what your billing day or collection day should look like, or at least feel like. Meaning you need to do nothing. It just needs to happen in the background, the same as SaaS has it, the same as Netflix has it. Like, when Netflix needs to be paid, they're not making any calls, they're not sending any emails. You know, the money's just, you know, coming in through. And I think we spoke about this, Ram. What would happen if Netflix started asking you to send them a check every month? What do you think, like, it will happen to the amount of clients they have? It
Drastically
will
drop.
probably it will drop, because they're basically, what they're doing is sending you to work. So, okay, for you to pay us, for us to get paid, you need to work as our client. And it's, for us, it's very funny because it's Netflix, but we're doing this to our own clients. For us to get paid, we're sending them to work. They need to validate that what we agreed upon in the paper proposal is actually what they see in the invoice. They need to verify that there's not an additional zero, that it's not a duplicate, that it's, they don't trust the invoice because it's, you know, it was done by a human, and they need to verify it. And this is a major thing of what we're trying to solve. And I think saying goodbye to a lot of bad things. So late payments, all the manual work, burning time and money for no good purpose, errors, and majoring in minor things. I don't know if the spelling's right in this, but this we've seen this so many times, is the minute that you're chasing payments, your mindset becomes such that it's not focused on growth. And that has a tendency to grow in a business. You're focused on just, like covering small corners and fixing stuff that are broken, and intending to, the urgent versus the important. And I think it starts from having the right tool. So the implications of having something proper in place is very, very meaningful. And then again, something we spoke about, cash flow uncertainty is something you can, say goodbye to. And it all starts before the billing even begins, at the process, at the proposal stage, and the onboarding stage. So, and hopefully frustration and friction.
Okay. So now I want to talk about why automation is important for the onboarding and managing work part of the process. So like we talked about in client onboarding, it can be time consuming to chase down clients, not just for the payments, but actually to get the actual information in. If you set up the right systems, the right processes, the right automations, you could have a world, like imagine a world where a client signs a proposal, that client is then automatically added to all your systems. You don't have to go in and add them to all your different systems, set them up, type in their email, make sure, go down that checklist. So it happens automatically. And then also imagine where not only are they added to all your different systems, but there's an intake form automatically sent to your clients requesting that information. So you didn't have to click anything to add them to your system. You don't have to click anything to request information. And more importantly, you don't have to check and follow up with them till they get you that information. Everything's automated. So proposal is signed, you're just sitting there. The client is added to your systems. It has requested the information, and will continue to request the information until they actually send it to you. What do you think about that? That would be nice, right? Is that better than having to do it all yourself? Drop it in the chat. What do you think about that? And Daniel, so I'm actually going to be showing you, there is actually a way now you can automate this between Anchor and Financial Sense. And we're actually going to show that today and share a guide. So Debbie Sound says that would be amazing. It is like all this time it would save you, the ability to reduce that error. And we're going to show you how you can actually do that today. So the other thing is delivering the work and meeting expectations, right? So there's the onboarding, but once you get the client onboarded, you get everything set up, you got the information you need. Let's talk about making sure how you meet those expectations. We talked about spreadsheets and the other ways. It doesn't really work. To really meet client expectations, you and your team need to ensure that you're going to get the work done on time. How do you do that? By tracking, being able to see who's working on what and when it needs to be done by. You need to make sure you deliver the work to those standards. How do you do that? You document your processes. So you can remember, hey, this is how I'm supposed to handle this client. Or as you hire a team member, they know how to handle the client to your expectations and your client's expectations. And then third, your team needs to be able to organize, to access all that information they actually need to get the work done. So it takes three things: knowing what to do and when, knowing how to do the work, and having everything to do the work. So how do you do this, right? And this is less about automation, but more about creating a single source of truth. One place for you and your team to go to see the status of work, who's working on what, to see how to exactly do the work, and actually access all the information to get the work done. So that's what you need to create. And that's what Financial Sense does. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we go into actually show you this. We're going to show you a little bit of Anchor, how it does what we've been talking about, how that automation works that I was talking about with onboarding, to where proposal is signed, client is added, work is created, information is requested. And then we're going to show you a little bit more. So let's go into that then, how to automate the processes. So this is where we're going to talk a little bit about how Financial Sense and Anchor can work together, and show you how it actually happens and how our systems work.
I think because I will take the responsibility. I spoke too much. We're running out of time, so I'm going to go very briefly in that so we can show them how it really happens. Basically, the concept is instead of sending a DocuSign or a Word document, you're sending a link to something that is bottom line first, meaning, the client sees it, it fits in the palm of their hands. All the legal mumbo jumbo that's definitely important will be below. You don't need to touch it. You don't need to deal with it. It's there by default. You can naturally edit it. But your client's looking to understand, okay, you said $1,000, I want to see it. And then once they validate it, they can immediately sign with their finger, and then the screen will flip and we will ask them, the system will ask them for their payment information. So it will be either a free ACH that's free both for you and for them, or they're able to pay with a credit card, which is averaged on 2.9%. And the default is that the client is paying that. We're feeling okay to charge it on the client due to the fact that, we're giving them a valid free option. If they're not choosing to do that, that's great, but you should not pay for their miles. And then this is where the magic happens. Once that is signed, Anchor is able to communicate with Financial Sense and taking all that information into the system, so you don't need to actually, re-put it after you've already onboarded it with a proposal. And maybe Shahram, you can take this and explain what's happening here.
Yeah, so what's happening here is like once a proposal is signed, it's gonna automatically add that client to the system. It's gonna create that work for the client, and it's gonna request that information from the client. And then I'll pass it just because I know there's some people that are gonna be running at the end, and we want to have some time to actually show it. But I'll let you take it from here.
All right, so basically, then the information is being passed back to Anchor. We're generating an invoice. We're automatically pulling in either through an ACH pool or a credit card pool, and then we're reconciling it automatically through QuickBooks, so that what we've created is, instead of something that normally takes 4 different pieces of software and everything is siloed and doesn't really serve you, is sort of a very, very continuous flow from the proposal through collecting the payment information, onboarding the client to the tool that's going to manage the actual work, and then go back to how you're billing them and taking in the money, and then ending up with reconciling it perfectly, because the entire, from taking the money from the client and putting it in your bank, it's the same system. So the reconciliation is just, it's flawless, and if it says it did it, and it's done, and you don't need to double check things. So I think we can jump through.
Okay, so I will let you take it from here. Omri's going to show you a little bit of how Anchor works, and then I'm going to show the new automation that we've created, and I'm actually going to share a link to a guide so you can set that up yourself if you are an Anchor and FC user, and a little bit about FC. So we'll try to fit that in these next like 5 to 10 minutes. But Omri, I'll let you take it from here. Just show your side.
Brilliant. So I'm able to share.
I'm gonna go ahead real quick and drop the guide to how to set up the automation for already existing users or people that are interested while you do your demo.
Here. Okay, so I'm going to show like a very, very brief presentation that will serve understanding. So there's multiple things here. This is the dashboard. You see, the money that you collected, the things that are due. But what we'll focus on here is the proposal. So you can just quickly jump in to create a proposal. You can just fill in whatever name you'd like. Oh, so we have bookkeeping with Shahram. That's great. And you fill in the contact information. Here it's pre-filled to save time. Basically that's it. Now you can move forward and build your services. So you can actually create packages. You can have different models of how you choose to bill people. But let's start with actually showing you how it is. So here is a service library. You can have as many or little as you want. These are things that this is a demo but been used previously. You can create new ones. You can use old ones and just tweak them. You can keep drafts. You can keep templates. Very, very easy, very straightforward. If we will, let's see. Let's say I want to add a bookkeeping service. So I'm just adding it here. I'm adding a service, and this behaves in a certain way. This will be billed monthly automatically, and I can choose how it behaves. So this will be billed up front at the first of the month, and we can naturally change this here easily to how we want it for it to behave. You can edit it here to see how you can choose different aspects. So think about every service. You can see if it's one time, weekly, bi-weekly, how it behaves. If it's a fixed price, a price per hour, price per unit, or a price range. And a price range is something very interesting because it keeps the automation running. So imagine that you're meeting a client and that client says, okay, I'm not sure of, how the scope of work, or you're not sure how much it's going to take. You can say, okay, anything between $1,000 to $2,000, that's the scope. And anything in that range that you will end up bill them will go out automatically. Let's say you discover it's horrible and it's 3,000. You can still do it, but then your client just will get an approval to approve it. But the range is something that prevents the automation from breaking. So for now, we'll keep it just like this, a very, very regular thing. We can add another service from the list, 1099 for that matter, and let's go ahead. Here you have more settings, but you have a lot of cool things. You can prorate, you can do a lot of different things, but we'll need more time for that. So what's happening now is that after I'm doing that, I simply send it, ready to send. I'm sending it now, and that's it. That's all it took. And now I can copy the link and share it. I can see the progress. So if I copy the link, then I can text it to my client to make it easy for them and review the process. So here is, so this is loading, but I'm going to pass it to you so that you'll be able to show them what happens once that being sent.
Yes. So I'm now going to show you like what it's like for a client to sign an anchor proposal, and then what it's going to do in our system in financial sense, which is where you onboard the client and you manage the work. So let me share my screen. So I have an email here, which is an anchor proposal. So he sent it, I'm the client, right? And I got this notification, hey, review and then sign this proposal if you agree. So it's super easy. You just click it, takes you into Anchor. They can then review the proposal, all the information in it, learn about the services, everything that's included. Very simple, very intuitive for the client, which is great. So they actually sign it and they understand it. And the next is approving and signing the proposal. So I'm the client. I'm going to say I'm agree with this proposal. You've now got a new client for your firm. So now what you need to do is add this client to your work management system. You need to request the information from the client. I have a Zapier automation. I dropped the link in the chat so you can set this up in your own firm. But now it's going to add the client to my my practice management tool, and it's going to request that information from the client. So as you can see, the test client name has webinar in it, but it wasn't there originally. But now that client is there. So now Anchor test webinar. So that's the client that just signed the proposal. It was automatically added to the system. But even better is on this client, it automatically set up a client onboarding project. So the process for onboarding the client. So if we go into that, you can see that it created an onboarding process to start for this client. And what's really cool is we set up parameters, which you'll see in the guide I sent. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but it gave it a start date. So it started on the 11th today, and then due 10 days later. So you want to get them onboarded maybe in 10 days. So it's set it up, it assigned it to your team members. Everything has started. And what's really cool too is it's also in the client request, what we call client tasks, it's already sent this request list. So it sent them a form. So here it sent them, so I have a fake form. This form right here for the intake, I use the type form, right? So they can fill it out. And it send them a link. I'm using Calendly to schedule a call for onboarding. So all that happened automatically. It added the client, it created the work and assigned it to your team, and it requested the information from the client. And it's going to keep chasing them down until they get it done. So everything started, you didn't have to do anything. And I shared this guide in the chat if you want to set this up yourself with FC and Anchor. But what's really cool, so let's talk just a little bit high level. So that's the automation. But what if you don't know about Financial Sense is a work management platform. So we talked about what are the three things you need to meet expectations. You need to know what you need to work on. You need to know, so that's what you do here, right? This is where you track the status of work. You can see all your clients, all the work for those clients, the status of that work, when it needs to be done by, and who's responsible in your team. You also can filter run custom reports, which I won't go through. And then if we go back into the work, so let's go back to that example for onboarding. You can see the process. So we said your team needs to know how to actually do the work. So you have the processes that your team follows for the onboarding. You have external resources that your team may need, integrations to access other apps, team chat. Everything your team needs to actually get the work done is one click away instead of living in all these different locations. And then what's really cool is like when you're done, you complete the work. You get a little dopamine hit, but there's a new automation. You have other automations where you can automatically notify the client here that the onboarding was completed, and then actually soon trigger the monthly bookkeeping or tax work to be created for that client in the system as well. So all that can be automated from the work creation. We don't have a lot of time to talk about that, but that's just like a quick overview of how Financial Sense really helps automate that process for getting the client onboarded and help streamlining and managing that work. Just for the sake of time, we're going to launch a poll. Tosin, I think you can launch the poll. And in this poll, we're going to see if you're interested, if you want to learn more about how Anchor can help with proposals and paid, how Financial Sense can help with managing the work and onboarding, and then also how to marry those two together. You can indicate in this poll that we just launched, and we'll reach out to you after the webinar. That being said, let's go and see if there's any questions in the chat. Unless, Omri, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I feel that I'm biased a little bit, but I think that people that don't know Financial Sense and don't know they don't know what they're missing on, because we're talking about very, very from the top, but the amount of work that Financial Sense saves in terms of just tweaking it and making sure that it's untangling your own business. And I think that the value there is immense. And I read in the comments before that, okay, someone spoke about, okay, I already, had my entire team being trained on a different system, but they don't like it and I don't like it. Okay, help us. And this is something we see all the time. So I want to encourage people to really, from our clients and the people that are using Financial Sense already know that, and again can teach others, but give it a go. I think it talks exactly with our vision of Anchor, of just leveraging technology to make your life better and make your business much better. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I think one reason why like we work so well with Anchor is because we have that same vision of let's simplify things, right? How can we make it easier for firms? And I think Anchor, one of the big things you guys saw was it's so hard why are we making it so hard for people to get paid, right? We want to make that easier. We want to give them peace of mind and knowing that's coming. And that's the same thing we want to do, but on the work management side. Like, why is it so hard for firms to get the information they need and to stay on top of everything? Why can't we simplify that and also give them that peace of mind so they know where everything stands? They know they're hitting those client deadlines, and they know there's not going to be a client calling them this month asking, "Why didn't you get my stuff done? What happened?" And it's just about making that whole experience and the journey of running a firm a lot easier. And it's the two most important things is creating a great client experience and making it easy for your team and then getting paid, right? And if you can do those things right, you can really build whatever firm you want to build. You can build that dream firm.
And a lot of things, something I'll add in, and then I'll let people ask questions, is a lot of people hear that and say, I don't have any problems. Like everything's super organized, everything's in place. But if you dive in, you understand that they have personnel, they have people in their team that their entire job is just to, do the research, is to follow these things, is to police other employees to make sure that everything's on top of it. So they don't experience the end result, but they're paying to get there. And with these kind of tools, you're able to just, skip that part and enjoy it without the heavy cost and I think overweight as well.
Yep. Exactly. And so I just want to I think I might have dropped the Zapier guide in a different channel. It wasn't to everyone. So now I just dropped it. It's in the chat now. There's a link to an article that shows I have a video how I exactly set up the Anchor and Financial Sense automation with Zapier. But if you have any questions about that, you can also reach out to our team. They can walk you through it. Just chat our support team as well. It looks like we're over on the minute, but is there any other questions in Q&A that anyone wants us to answer?
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a question, Shahram, for you specifically.
okay, so I think there was a question about someone's they just signed up for another practice management tool. They're not really liking it. They use it to communicate with their clients and for their team. Does it make sense to switch? It really comes down to you. I mean, but in my opinion, your practice management tool is the heart of your firm. It's what your team uses every single day. It's how your clients communicate with you. And if you don't have the right tool for you now, and you're already seeing problems with it, as you grow, you get more clients, you get more team members, those problems are going to get worse. They're going to amplify. And even though it may be a little painful to switch now, it's only going to be more painful to switch later when you have more clients and more team members. So if you don't think it's the right fit now, I would suggest making that change instead of waiting because I mean, it's like you just got to rip the band-aid off if you don't think it's going to work because it's going to become a problem where it doesn't work and you're going to be forced to switch and it's going to be a lot harder to do it later than sooner. So that's my advice, but just I would really think about, is it the right tool for you? Talk to our team if you want to learn more about financial sense. And we actually have an onboarding team that can actually support that migration too, if that's something you're serious about. Okay. So I think there's other questions. Okay, so that was a question I answered. And then I'm going to put my leads in FC before they sign into Anchor. So Heather, with the Zapier I've created, if the names match from the proposal to the lead you created in Financial Sense, it will not duplicate that client because you're going to use if it finds that client, it'll just create the work for that existing client. But the names will need to match exactly. So when you send them the proposal, how you set that client up in Anchor will have to match exactly to how that prospect was set up as a lead in Financial Sense, like the name. So, but if you're worried about that, I would look at changing your process a little bit for the proposal process.
There's a question from Doreen as well. Sure, in the Q&A.
Yeah, so I don't have specifics on that question right now. Are there any other questions?
There is one in the chats. Do I need a higher level Zapier platform? It's in the chats. Daniel.
Level platform for this. Yeah, so for our Zapier automation, if you want to automate Anchor and Financial Sense together, you would need the scale plan because the Zapier integration is part of the scale plan. It wouldn't be on the base team plan. Would not.
All right. I think that's all the questions.
So I want to just add to something that you said real quick. In terms of onboarding, which is critical, like we're talking about onboarding clients and making sure that it's easy for them. we want to make it that easy for you to use us, because I think it's part of, you know, a good software that you get support with it, and you get, you know, the understanding of how to make the most of it. So like Shahram said, if you were considering something, jump on, you know, a call with their, you know, support team. I'm sure that they'll able to help you migrate or just understand what it would take. And 9 out of 10 cases, you see that it's much easier than what you imagine. And the same with us. We make it a very, you know, we make it a must for us to support people in their moving, because we don't want it to be another headache. So we have bulk uploads, so you can actually we can connect to QuickBooks and actually set you up on Anchor very quickly, automatically. It's not that you need to add like client per client. So you can be up and running very quickly, and that includes migrating from other places. But more than anything, we're there if you need anything and you just want to tweak it and see, okay, is this for me? If this is something that can work for me, so we're there. Don't wait.
Agreed. I completely agree. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is great. We love doing these webinars. It's been a great topic. And this is the first time we talked about this automation now we have with Anchor. So this is like the great unveiling of it. I think it's going to add a lot of value, and I hope you guys found this helpful.
So I want to thank everybody as well, and more than anything, Shahram and Tusin for you know, picking this topic up and pushing this and creating the Zapier and being I think the champion of this entire process. So thank you for this, and it's just the beginning.
Yes, it is. All right, everyone. Thank you guys. I guess we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.